Hello there, it's been a minute. Sorry about that. So since I'm apparently back doing these things again, I thought the best place to start would be with my latest acquisition, and that was Transformers Legacy United Infernac Universe Magneous. I have a soft spot for Transformers that are a little out of the ordinary. Like, don't get me wrong, I love me a Wheeljack or Soundwave as much as the next person, but when a toy like Magneous comes out that's neither Autobot nor Decepticon, is influenced by Rock Lords and one episode of the Headmasters, has a reference to the Inhumanoids for some reason mixed up in its paper-thin backstory, and turns into a car made of rocks, well, I'm going to be all over that. In the looks department, I think Magneous looks pretty good for saying he's 99% grey. His rocky and uneven look is well realised, and despite all that grey, it is broken up by being several different shades of grey. The only splash of colour on him is the gold of his eyes, which bring attention to a really neat asymmetrical head sculpt. His chest piece is also interesting, since I can't remember another Carbot having wheels form a chest like this. I'm sure there is one, there have been a lot of Transformers in the last 40 years, but you gotta get your novelty where you can in mainline car transformations. On to his accessories. Well, he has a shield, but it looks better when it's stored on his back, so we won't talk about it anymore, and his pickaxe, which can also be a crossbow if you squint. You can also remove these panels off his arms to fill in the voids in the back of his legs, which I personally don't do, but is a nice touch if those gaps annoy you. He's also pretty great on the posing front too, barring an unreasonably stiff head on my copy. Notable bits being his feet, which have a nice range of movement, and his wrists, which can do this, if you need wrists that can do that. In fact, the only thing in bot mode I'm not super jazzed by is his armorizer gimmick. Magneous carries on the trend of bots who split apart to be weapons and armour for other bots, but very much in the style of the Junkions, so less weaponizer and more here's a bunch of bits that fell off a robot, but at least it means he has a regular transformation rather than the extreme parts forming the earlier ones did. I don't know, I just don't feel it's necessary or particularly interesting here. There's not actually a lot you can do with him or his parts compared to the War for Cybertron weaponizers. Maybe he'll interact with future Rock Lads in a slightly more interesting way, but for now I kind of forget it's a thing he can do until I try and pose him and then an arm comes off. Anyway, onto the transformation.
Rock lords, rocks that come alive, rock lords, fighting to survive, living rocks with strength and might, rising up to crash and fight, rock lords.
The transformation is pretty satisfying, with the previously mentioned chest transformation giving a neat spin on what part of the car is where on the robot. And what we're left with is, well, I'm not sure how to grade a car that's made of rocks since I previously didn't have to wrestle with such a thing existing. But the detailing and texture really sell it, so this is definitely the best one of those I've ever seen. It's just such an odd concept, and I can't help but love it. As soon as I saw the promo shots of the alt mode, I was like, yep, that's ridiculous, I am having that. His weapon can be stored on the top of the car or jammed into the front as some kind of battering ram. I prefer the former, but I'm not going to judge you for whatever depravities you do in your own home. Oh, and if you're wondering, yes, you can still make the car out of him without any of the bits attached. It's just a little insubstantial, but all four wheels roll, so it counts. Also, this is an early preview of what looking at eBay listings for this guy are going to look like in 20 years. Legacy Magneous, incomplete. Yeah, I quite like this guy. If you're in the market for a man made of rocks who also turns into a car, then I can definitely recommend him. He's got his foibles, he's not perfect, but then neither are you, so don't judge. And next time I'll try not to leave it a whole year before uploading another one of these videos.